had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Mattie C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes! Oh, episode 162. Unbelievable. We have a great show tonight, and without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Mattie C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Mattie C, etc., 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 and all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Voldy, Shield. What is going on there, Shield?
I can't believe that we are finally less than 24 hours away from NFL football, real NFL football once again. And I'm looking forward to it as always. Yes, indeed, straight cash, homie, because we are here. We got lots to cover, of course. We got the purple and gold on right now. We are ready for football, and we got to talk some Minnesota Vikings tonight, too.
We do, and we also, when we're talking Minnesota Vikings, we also usually bring on our Minnesota Vikings expert, and you know him as Mikey Ryan. So claps out to Mikey coming back on the show. Mikey, how we feeling? You ready for the season? You ready to get into it?
Oh, yeah. Super ready for the season. It feels like fall outside right now. It's like, 65 degrees. It's perfect football weather. I'm raring to go. I need one more night, and then we're into the season, and I can't wait.
Exactly, and you know what the fun thing about the beginning of the season is we get football tomorrow. Even though it is the Lions, our division opponent, but you know, it's all good. The Chiefs will be playing fantasy football on the line. Let's go. So, like Voldy said at the beginning, we got some Vikings talk. We got the first, Tater Tot Hot Take is going to be filled with Vikings talk tonight, so there's no special segment. But with that being said, ARA tonight we got, we're talking about the Gophers, that big win over Nebraska, and then Pat Bev, saying stuff that we wish he didn't say in this instance, but we'll get to that later. Colorado beats TCU. Coach Prime proves the doubters wrong, apparently. Pitch clock for the postseason, the MLB, and then Caleb Williams. Is he going to stay at USC? Is he going to go to the NFL? Do we know? We don't know. So, where are they now? Just kidding. Let's just get into it, guys. The 2023 Minnesota Vikings, Tater Tot Hot Take. Let's get it going.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right. Before we get started with Tater Tot Hot Take, Mikey knows this. Voldy knows this as well. Pick'em. MinneZona Pick'em is, in fact, back. Make sure that you guys make your picks. There's a lot on the line. Stickers. There is. Maybe a shirt. Maybe something else. We'll get into that at some point. But make sure you guys get into that. Do your pick'em. Set your picks, because obviously Thursday is approaching. Obviously tomorrow.
Big day.
So make sure you check that out, because we got a lot going on with that. So with that being said, let's go. The 2023 Minnesota Vikings. So this is the rundown here for Tater Tot Hot Take and what we're going to do. The first things we're going to do here, we're going to preview Vikings versus Bucks, just kind of give our thoughts on what we think is going to be crucial for the Vikings to win, how they're going to take down a very, pretty competent Buccaneers defense. nonetheless. And then we're going to do over-under on some of these guys as well for offense, defense, things like that. And then we're going to get Mikey's 3 keys to success for our Minnesota Vikings. And then, guys, bold predictions again. Are we excited for that? I can't wait. Mikey's got a good one. Voldy's got a good one. I can't wait to hear what you guys think of that. And then at the end of this segment, season record, division champs, maybe, yes, no. Playoffs, do they go far? Do they not go far? Let us know. And that's not only for us here, that's for the zoners as well. So make sure that you guys comment on what you think is going to happen for the Vikings, especially when we do over-under. What do you expect from the Vikings up against the Buccaneers? So make sure you check that out. All right, so that being said, Vikings Bucks. Mikey, we're wearing and Voldy, we're wearing the throwback uniforms, looking fresh. First game of the season.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a lot to be excited about, and obviously you look at the Buccaneers. Obviously, no TFB. He's gone. No. He's retired. For all we know, he could come back. We don't know. Just kidding. Knock on wood. Here. But Baker Mayfield. I'm so sorry. Baker Mayfield steps in for the Bucs. They still have Chris Godwin. They still have Mike Evans. Mikey, what are you kind of looking at for this first game for the Vikings against pretty good Buccaneers? I mean, maybe middle of the road Buccaneers team. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking this is a game that we have to play solidly. The Buccaneers are still going to be good, right? Like you just said, they still have a solid defense, I think. Offensively, we'll see how Baker either improves or regresses. He's kind of an unknown at this point, right? But I think their run game is still solid with Rachaad White. I think that's the running back out there. So we got to improve on defense. I think that's the number one key, like this entire season almost at this point, right? We've all known that, hey, the defense has to improve. But just played solid defense. We don't have to play fantastic defense week 1, right? But get used to the system that Brian Flores wants us to run. Get used to all the teammates out there, the new or old. Get the chemistry back online. And then offensively, just do what we've been doing, right? Last year, it was a fantastic year offensively, minus the running game, but we still had a very good running game. But just run the system, and you should be fine.
That's the hope. Voldy, what are you kind of looking at here come Sunday?
Yeah, I'm looking at especially, too, because obviously it's going to be the Vikings offense versus that Buccaneer defense. That's really where I'm kind of keeping my eye on, too. If the Vikings line can obviously protect Kirk Cousins and allow him that time to find Justin Jefferson, to find kjosborn, to find Jordan-Addison, and even, with the tight ends we have with the tjhockenson too. Give them time to develop plays downfield. That's going to be a big help. The corners and obviously the defensive backfield kind of been hit or miss the last season it was for Tampa Bay. That's where they kind of got beat a lot. Was a lot of those hit or miss deep plays as well. The health of Antoine Winfield Jr., especially in the back half of the season last year for Tampa Bay, was very questionable too. So that defensive front, the front seven there, still very formidable with Devin White and with Levante David as well. Vita Vea on the line too, and those guys can certainly create havoc if the offensive line can really set the tempo early and even allow the running game to get going too. That's going to be a big help for Kirk to open up a lot of those play actions and those plays downfield. While looking on the flip side, if the Vikings defense, which had a lot of trouble last season of getting to the quarterback and getting Baker flushed from the pocket, that will certainly help because, there's been some questions with the health of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans too. His whole, obviously that and contract situation too for Mike Evans going into this season. Is that going to be enough for that cohesiveness of the offensive unit with Baker Mayfield obviously trying to reprove himself worthy of the league too, because, he is the starting QB this week, but a bad game or two here or there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Todd Bowles decides to make a switch and go for Kyle Trask as starting quarterback too. So if the defense for the Vikings that had trouble the last year getting the quarterback can get Baker out of the pocket, I think that'll open up a lot of things. And, he's not afraid to give the ball to the other side. So if they can get some turnovers and then capitalize with it on the other side for the Vikings offense, Vikings should be able to take care of business on Sunday.
Fingers crossed, right?
Fingers crossed, as always.
As always. One thing I do want to bring up about this game, too, is Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I feel like that offense pretty much now is going to run through them. You have Byron Murphy, and on the other side, you have a Caleb Evans. He played very well in that game against Washington this past year, and I mean, is he going to be the same that we saw in that game? Obviously, he had some injury issues after that game, concussion and things like that. But that's what I'm most intrigued about is what are things gonna look like for that second cornerback on the other side? Because Byron Murphy's had a solid camp, and I think he's going to be a very good corner for us. The next thing that I think we should keep note of too, that the middle of our defense, you have Jordan Hicks, Ivan Pace, Brian Asamoah. I mean, are they going to live up to that expectation of, look, there's no more Eric Kendricks. We're going to have to rely on you three guys to kind of, man the middle there. So I'm intrigued to see what happens, what Flores does with those guys, because I feel like, the Vikings gave up a lot of rushing yards last year. And, knowing from Minnesota, lore and things like that, we used to just stop the run almost every game, you know what I mean? Yeah. And now it's just like there's big gaping holes opening up. Saquon Barkley's running all over us in that playoff game as well. So that's something to factor in. So I think the middle of the defense, but the interior offensive line, Mikey, Voldy, we've talked about this almost extensively. Too much, I feel like. They didn't really do much with the interior. Now, Dalton Reisner is still out there. If things go south for Ed Ingram, who is still young, let's give him some leeway here a little bit. Ezra Cleveland, I feel like, has shown a little bit of regression too. If it's pretty anemic, especially against Vita Vea, against the Bucs coming up here on Sunday, they're going to have no choice but to get Reisner, wouldn't you say, Mikey?
I would tend to agree. Yeah, it's just that interior line. Just looking at the depth chart entirely, right? It's the weak point of the offense. The tackles are solid. Darisaw has been, elite, you could say. Along with Brian O'Neill. Brian O'Neill's been fantastic as well. It's just those guards. Ezra Cleveland, I think, had a down year last year. Sure. I hope that he can bounce back because he's been solid for us. Garrett Bradbury's always been hit or miss. But that real blight on the offensive line is that right guard with that Ingram. Like you said, he's still young, so maybe in the offseason he did improve a bunch, right? That's still left there to be told, but we'll see how it turns out. Vita Vea is probably, a top 5 D tackle in the league, I would say. I think he's probably up there, especially on the Bucs team. Without Ndamukong Suh, I think he retired now. Right. So it's the big test, right? If it doesn't go well, if Kirk gets pressured, and especially if he gets sacked, if Vikings fans have watched the quarterback series, he got hit all the damn time. It seemed like in that series, it was crazy. So we need to shore that up, and with a talent like that out in free agency, you feel like you have to get it if you're still having issues like that what we had last year. Right.
So that's another point of emphasis. Hopefully keep Kirk upright, playing with bruised ribs or whatever it was. I can't even remember. But I feel like it's going to be a game where they're going to have to, come out firing and, maybe they won't put up like 38 points like people are like, well, the offense should be back to what it was last year. No, it's probably going to take some time again. These guys haven't played an actual, full-on game since January. So there might be some stuff going on. But Jared says, great first team to play. For the first game. Hopefully it's a confidence booster and they can work out any issues they may have. And I think that's a perfect segue into what I was saying too is, work out the kinks, see where it goes, because let's not forget, Dalvin Cook is no longer a Minnesota Viking. You have Alexander Mattison back there, Ty Chandler, and Myles Gaskin, and Kene Nwangwu is on IR. So there's a lot to factor in with the running game as well, but I think from what we've seen is there are going to be more of a passing team. And that's what O'Connell wants to do. And, we have to be behind that somewhat. But I also know that the run game is still very important in this day and age, too. So we got to factor that in as well. All right. So, like we said, zoners, please chime in. Let us know what you think, what the Vikings will do. Let's do some over-under. Here. So
do it.
We're going to start off with my good and close personal friend, Kirk Chains. 4,000 passing yards. Mikey, over or under for Kirk this season?
I'm taking the over on that. I think he's going to go for more.
What do you think? Like, give an approximate, 4,500,
we have so many weapons at this point, and I think we are, like you said, we're going to go more towards geared towards more passing, instead of trying to run the football, all the time. Yeah. We'll still run it, like you said, right? But it's going to be like passing on 2 downs instead of passing on 1 down.
Right.
I'm going to say 4,500.
Okay. I like that. That's pretty good.
All right.
Voldy, what do we got?
I'll take the over. Give me 4,628 yards for Kirk Chains this season.
It's a specific number.
Good thing we're recording this, because if Voldy gets spot on, that's got to be up for most approved statement.
Yes.
So keep that number in mind, Voldy, when we do this next. So,
4,628. Write it down.
Write it down. We have it recorded. All right. Next one for Kirko. 30 touchdown passes. Are you taking the over or the under on that, Mikey?
I'm taking the over again. Again, so many weapons on this offense. I think it's going to be hard to keep him under 30. If he is under 30, something has gone drastically wrong this season, I think.
Yeah, there you go. He had 29 last year, so just keeping that in mind as well. But with the weapons that you have, I'd take the over on that too. Voldy, what do you got?
I'll take the over on that. Put him at 37 touchdowns this year.
I like that.
I like the number.
I like that number. That's pretty. It's it's an odd number, but I like it just because it's 37. It's almost right spot on. So that's gonna do it for Kirko.
Oh my God,
Kirko, chill. So he's gonna have a great season, as per usual. Top 10 QB. We'll say that. So whoever has an issue with that. Okay, this one I think is going to be tricky. Alexander Mattison, over or under 1,000 rushing yards? Mikey, what do you got?
I'm going to go under here. I think with how the running back room looks like right now, I think it's going to be more – Alexander Mattison's going to get the most touches. I think that's not in doubt. But I think it's going to be more of a committee than I think a lot of Vikings fans think it will be. Mattison for sure will get, like I said, most of the touches. He'll get a lot of the goal line touches too, with CJ Ham a little bit. But I don't see it going over 1,000 just because we're going to try to spell him. And I don't foresee him being a huge third down back as much as Dalvin Cook was. I see him more being in first and second downs, and then we kind of do a rotation of backs in the third down.
There you go. All right, Voldy, over under.
Yeah, I think he's going to go under as well. Like Mikey said, he's going to get the bulk of the touches. I'm going to put the number at, we'll go 762 yards for him.
Perfect. And I really hope that one, or at least your predictions of these are true. That'd be so sick.
I'm just throwing the numbers
sweet.
out there. You know what? Yeah,
just throw it out there.
At least one or two.
Yeah,
I'll just put it out there.
Just throw it out there. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take the under as well. I agree with. I just think they're going to do a lot more passing. I think you're going to see a lot of pass catching, a little bit more pass catching out to Mattison / Ty Chandler and Myles Gaskin. Don't forget we have him in our back pocket now. So, let's look at his rushing touchdown. So I have it at 6, over under 6 rushing touchdowns. Mikey, what do you got?
That's a tough number. I'm going to say yes, he's going to go over, but not by much. My number is going to be 7. It's going to be 7 rushing touchdowns. I think a lot of them are going to be in goal line situations.
I would agree, and he's pretty good in goal line situations, and he always gets that extra yard, so I like that one. Voldy, what do you got?
Great minds think alike on this one. I'm going to go with the over at 7 as well.
All right. I'm going to go one up on you guys. I'm going to go 8 over.
Ooh.
So obviously over. I'm going to go 8. And the reason why I say that is I feel like they're going to get into those a little bit more short situations, and they're going to give it off to him because, he can be that grounded pound if you need him to. We just need him to be shifty, but we'll get into that later. All right, let's switch over to the defense real quick, okay? Daniellehunter. He gets his contract. Hopefully that amounts into a lot of sacks, right? So Daniellehunter, over under 10 sacks. Mikey, what do you got?
That's a tough number as well. You're picking the tough ones today.
I know, right?
I like it. I think I'm going to go over on this one. I think Danielle gets, I'm going to say 12.5. I think he gets 12.5 this year. I think he comes back off of arguably one of the down years for Vikings defense on the pass rush side. I think it's going to be a resurgence with Brian Flores, and he's going to get 12.5. That's my number.
12.5 is pretty good. I hope that's the case because they're going to really need him to play well and stay healthy. Is a big thing with Daniellehunter as well. But when he's healthy, he's good. So, all right, Voldy, what do you think? Over under 10 sacks for Danielle?
I'm definitely taking the over on this one. I think with everything the last couple of seasons has been for Daniellehunter, this is going to be a awakening for him. This is going to be somewhat of a rebirth as well. I'm going to put him at, let's go 13.5 sacks for him.
13.5 sacks. Voldy, put it in the doc right now. I see you doing that.
I'm literally writing it all down right now.
I'm glad you are, to be honest, because we'll probably forget at some point. But
yeah.
So I'm going to take the over as well. I'm going to go 14.5. I'm going to be exact on this one. I'll go 14.5.
Okay.
With Daniellehunter. So let's go to Harrison Smith. I feel, let's not forget, I think he had 5 interceptions this past year. He's defeating Father Time so far. So I put the over-under, I say either over 3 interceptions or under 3 interceptions. Mikey?
I'm going over on this one. I think he's going to have a swan song year for his career. I'm going to go 8 interceptions. I think he's going to have a monster year back there.
Wow. 8 is that? That's a bold. That is a bold prediction. I got to give you some credit for that. I hope so. I really do hope so for that, man. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, for the Hitman, I'm definitely going to take the over on the 3 there. I'm not going to go as high as Mikey here, but I'm going to say he's going to have a repeat performance. I think he'll have 5 interceptions this year.
5 interceptions. All right. I like it. I'm going to go 4. And the reason why I'm giving him 4, and obviously the over on this, is because I feel like Byron Murphy's going to do a lot. Lewis Cine, let's not forget, he's still there. Cam Bynum had a great year last year too, so we'll keep that in mind. Speaking of Byron Murphy, over-under, I put it at 3 as well for him. Mikey, are you taking the over on 3 or the under?
I want to take the over on this one too. I think it's going to be a lot closer to the line. I'm going to say 4 interceptions here because I'm hoping that people just don't throw to him. I'm hoping he's just a lockdown corner, and they're just like, I'm not throwing that way.
If you see in all those camp highlights, I mean, I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. Voldy, what do you got Byron Murphy at?
Byron Murphy, I'm going to take the push on this one. I'm going to take the cover the spread here. I'm going to stay at 3 interceptions for him.
Yep. I think that's
Mikey,
a good one.
Mikey, you said that they're not going to throw to his side, and I feel like that's what they're going to do. I'm going to go 2. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to be different on this because I feel like there's going to be a lot of attention, like, okay, we can't use this because he's, locking down that side, things like that. Not saying he's a shutdown corner because we still need to watch him play, but when you have Harry, when you have, guys like Cine and Bynum, and hopefully a Caleb Evans gets in there too. Mekhi Blackman is another guy, so we'll see there. All right, Marcus Davenport. No sacks last year. I think that changes this year. So I put it at 5 sacks. What are we thinking with Marcus Davenport? Are you taking the over or the under of 5 sacks or not?
I think I'm going to take the push on this one. It's tough because he's on a 1-year deal, so I think he is hungry and incentivized. But I also think that a lot of the other people on the offensive line are going to get their love in too. Danielle, I think, is going to be far and away probably the sack leader this year with my choice. But I think a lot of people are going to get their licks in too. But I just don't see Marcus Davenport getting a lot of those sacks. I think it's going to be spread the love between the 3, and then Danielle just goes and runs free. So I'm going to take the push on this one at 5.
All right. Voldy, what do you got?
This one was a bit of a head scratcher to try to figure out. I think if anything, with Marcus kind of getting his year to prove himself too on this 1-year deal, I feel like he'll probably take advantage of it. And I went with the over, but I'm not really a whole lot confident with this one. I put 6.5 down for him this year for 6.5 sacks. So just a little bit on the over.
Okay. I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to take the over, but I'm going to go with 8. I'm going to go with 8 sacks for Marcus Davenport. I feel like when you're in a different scheme and when you have a guy like Flores, I feel like there's a reason why they brought him in after this whole Zadarius thing that was just weird. But don't forget DJ Wanham now, too. We still got him. Patrick Jones had flashes, too, so keep an eye on that. All right. Do the gritty. It's time. JJ. Justin Jefferson. So this one, I set a high bar for this one just because it's JJ. Okay, over under Justin Jefferson, 1,500 receiving yards. Mikey, are you taking the over or the under on that for JJ this year?
I'm taking the over, and I'm going to be bold. I think this is going to be a career year. I think I'm going to go 1950 for his yardage. Ooh. I think he doesn't break 2,000. I don't think he does it with the weapons. But I think it is going to be a career year for him.
I can't complain with that. Voldy, what do you got?
So I am hitching my wagon to the JJ train, and we are going to the moon. 2,037 yards for JJ.
I like it.
What's with you and 37? Yep. I feel like, today.
I don't know.
We'll take it. Obviously, taking the over on this. I'll go 2,000. I'm going to go 2,000. Right at 2,000. That's where I'm going to go. JJ right at 2,000. And zoners, let us know what you think. Are you going to take the over or under on JJ's receiving yards. All right, so let's move on to receiving TDs. And obviously, I feel like teams are going to key in on JJ and, try to figure out ways. But I also know that O'Connell's got some tricks up his sleeve, too. So I set it at 10 for receiving touchdowns, which I feel like is respectable. And obviously, he'll be a red zone threat, too. Mikey, you're taking the over on 10 or the under for JJ?
I'm taking the over again. Second year in the system, I think O'Connell's going to find more ways to get him open, especially now that teams are going to be keyed on him for sure. He's going to get double covered probably 60-70% of the time during the entire game. I'm putting my number at 18 touchdowns.
Ooh. Voldy, what do you got?
It's going to be a lot for Kirkle of screw it, JJ down there somewhere. 17 touchdowns for him this year.
Wow, you guys are like right in unison right there. I'm going to go...
I love it.
I'm going to go 15. And I feel like a lot of that is going to be influenced by Kjosborn, tjhockenson, Jordan-Addison. So I feel like that, I think they'll kind of get in there. Obviously, maybe a titch of Madison or someone else, or even Johnny Munt, for goodness sake. Let's throw in some love for Johnny Munt there. So, yeah, I think that factors in. So, with that being said, let's move over to the rookie here. Let's go with Jordan-Addison. So, I put it, I'm kind of setting a little bit of a lower bar just to kind of see where things are at. But, Mikey, Jordan-Addison, over under 750 receiving yards. What do you got?
This is tough. After JJ, it's like I got to spread the love, right? I'm going to go with the over, but very slightly. I'm going to say it's going to be 775 for receiving yards.
Nice.
I like that. I think that's respectable, and obviously I think it's doable as well. So keep an eye out for that. Voldy, what do you got?
Well, we definitely know that Jordan-Addison likes to go fast. What also goes fast? A jet. How about 737 yards? Slight under for the rookie this year. I'm going 737 for him.
I love it. I'm going to do the under. I'll go about 700. 700, right around there, I think is respectable. Just because I really like what I see from Kjosborn, especially in camp. And I feel like that could overshadow a couple things too. So let's move on to receiving touchdowns. I put it at 5 for Jordan-Addison. So you're taking the over or the under on that, Mikey?
For this, I'm actually going to take the under. I think there are just too many weapons to spread the ball around to. I think Addison's going to be like that slot guy. He's going to get those yardage under the defense and then try to run for it. Not so much in the red zone. I'm going to go with 4 receiving touchdowns this year.
Ooh. I think that's respectable, especially learning the offense and things like that. Voldy, before I get to you, I do have a zoner. Our good friend Jason Schmitz, our good friend, our Rams fan. Addison is going to put up big numbers and lead my fantasy football team to a championship as the biggest sleeper pick this year. I hope it turns out well for you. I really do.
Yeah.
So, especially, Cooper Kupp, he's out week 1 too. So you'll have to go with the other Jefferson, Van Jefferson, as the lead guy there. Let us know your thoughts on that, Jason. I'm curious. Voldy, over under 5 receiving touchdowns for Jordan-Addison.
I'm going to take the push on this one. I think he'll get the 5 for sure this year. I was going to go with the over, but something just hit me last second there. I'm going to go with the push at 5 for him this year.
There's the envelope, and you just pushed it. I like it. I'm gonna go with Mikey on this. Or you took the push, right, Mikey? Or correct me.
I took the under. I took the under at 4.
You took the under. Okay. I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go 6. I'll go 6 just because I feel like it's gonna be respectable. They're gonna be so focused in on JJ that he slips by too. Another guy that we got to bring up, Kjosborn. So this is the same deal with him. Over 750 over under, Mikey. What do you got? Receiving yards.
Yep, I'm taking the over on this one. I'm like you. I like what Kjosborn's done this year out of camp. He's looked solid. He's looked very, very good. And he's looked good last year too. He turned out to be the number 3 option outside of tjhockenson and JJ. I'm going with, he's going to break 1,000. I'm going to go 1,037. I'm going to steal Voldy's number there.
Attaboy.
There we go. I like it. Let's throw it in there. I like it. Voldy, over under on KJ.
You know, when I went to KJ here, I really thought now that we have JJ going for 2,000, and then after that, the love is going to be spread quite evenly. I went with a slight under for kjosborn. I had him at 646 for this year. I don't know if that's going to be really much of a regression for him, but I feel like this could very well change, and I hope that I'm proven wrong here with this. I went slight under with him at 646 yards this year.
Okay. I'm gonna take the under as well. I'm gonna go 5. Or no, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go 673. Let's go 673 for KJ. All right, receiving touchdowns. I have him at 5, much like Jordanaddison. So over under on that, Mikey.
I'm going the over. I'm going to go over by a little bit. I'm going to say, let's say 8 touchdowns. I think Kjosborn is going to grow into this offense, especially with JJ getting doubled. KJ is going to be open. I'm going to go 8.
There's too many JJ, KJ, TJ,
right?
CJ. I mean, just a lot of J's.
You're a J. I'm a J. We're all J's. It's whatever.
It's but I like it. You know, it's good. It keeps things interesting. So, one thing to add with Kjosborn too, he is clutch in so many key moments from last season. The game against Detroit at home, game-winning touchdown, late Tuesday. So I think I like that with the touchdowns there, Mikey. All right, Voldy, over under.
Over under. I went over on this one, but I went with 6. 6 touchdowns for him this year.
Okay, there we go. I'm gonna go 7. I'll go 7 with KJ. I think that's a respectable number for him, and see how things go. I look at it as a little bit of a fantasy football sleeper. So shout out to my guys at the Victorious POD, checking that out. Jason says, before we get to our last one here, with Cup being hurt, Rams season is already done. Looking forward to Caleb Williams under center next year.
We'll see if he even comes out.
It's going to be Arizona. They're already self-tanking already. Arizona's already tanking for the first pick.
McVay's just going to be gone, too. Who knows? I mean, interesting.
Take the TV job.
Yeah, take the TV job. Exactly. All right. From KJ to TJ Hockenson. Brand new deal. We'll have a full season with the purple here. I have it at 500 receiving yards over under. Mikey, what do you got for Hockenson there?
I got the over on this one too. I think it's going to be a little bit over, not by a huge margin. I'm going to say 727 for yards.
I think that's pretty good. We'll take that. Voldy, over under on Hockenson.
If we've seen anything this offseason from TJ Hockenson, this man is an electric factory in many, many ways. Getting the crowd pumped up at wild games, running solid blocks of unruly fans during a Twins game as well. But I feel like with the big hawk here, he's going to whip one out here for a big season. It's going to be 821 yards for him, so I'm taking the over.
I am taking the over as well, but not by too much. I'm going to go 625 for TJ Hockenson. So he'll be key on a lot of third downs and in the red zone. Speaking of the red zone, I put it at 6 because I feel like he is going to be targeted a lot in the red zone this upcoming season. So I put it at 6, over under 6 touchdowns. Mikey, what do you got?
I got the over on this one too. Kirk likes to throw to TJ in the red zone. He loves it. I'm going with 7. I'm going to go just slightly over because everyone else is going to get all those touches, especially JJ. But I'm saying 7 touchdowns.
Cool. I like it. Voldy, I think you might be upping the ante a little bit here. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm taking the over as well. I'm going to go with 8 touchdowns this year for the Big Hawk.
I like it.
Voldy, I'm going right with you. I'm going to go 8 as well for tjhockenson. So I'm going to stick by you on that. All right, so this is where Mikey gets to tell us his 3 keys to success for the Minnesota Vikings, and then we're going to do our bold predictions. So keep in tune with that. Mikey, what are your 3 keys to success for the 2023 Minnesota Vikings? Go ahead.
All right. So the first one, I think it's pretty obvious. Every Vikings fan knows it. It's improve the defense. It's flat out. Every aspect of the defense needs to be improved. Pass, the run, everything. You cannot get worse than basically what we did last year, right?
Right.
That's key number 1. Like, it just play Brian Flores' scheme, and I think it should be good from there. Key number 2, again, I keep referencing the quarterback series, but it's protect Kirk. You got to keep that man upright. He's 35 now, almost going to be 36.
Around there.
He can't. Yeah, he can't keep taking those hits. He keeps getting up. It's amazing how much he's taken and just keeps getting back up. But we need to protect him because we have so many options in our offense that we need time to develop those plays, and we need to get the ball out to everybody. And then third one, I think it's also very obvious. Get JJ the ball. No matter however you do it, just get JJ the ball. If you have to line him up as an H-back in like a shotgun, if you have to put him in the slot, if you have to put him outside, hell, put him at the tight end position too if you want. Just get him the ball somehow. He is electric with it. He finds ways to get those yak yards.
Yeah.
He just does it all. I think that those are the 3 keys. Very obvious ones, I think. I don't think those ones are like, hey, this is like the hidden one that we got to find. No, I think just keep it simple.
Keep it simple, and I feel like that's what they're going to do. And I the defense has always been the A topic here this whole offseason, and I feel like it's going to, it can't get worse. It just can't get worse. So I completely agree with you on that. So. All right, guys, it's time for our bold predictions. And before we do that, I want the zoners to also chime in here, too. Even if you're not a Vikings fan, cough, Jason, what your thoughts on the Vikings will be. You can say that so-and-so is going to get over 2,000 rushing yards, as an example. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying with rushing yards because I don't think we're going to hit that at all. But, Mikey, what is your bold prediction for the Minnesota Vikings this season?
All right, my bold prediction. I haven't gotten an absurd statement. This is probably going to get me there. I'm saying the Vikings are going to have a top 3 defense this year.
Ooh! Oh, man, a top 3 defense. I hope that's the case. Are we that confident in Brian Flores, Mikey?
I'm that confident in Brian Flores. I think even with the minimal moves we have, I'm that confident in that scheme. I like the draft picks we got. I especially like Ivan Pace Jr. I think he is a beast. He's a baller. Like, get him in there somewhere. If you have to put him at outside, inside, wherever, just put him in there. I think he does extremely well. And I think this is a revitalization of the Vikings defense that we've wanted for so long. I'm saying it. Mm-hmm. Top 3. Put me in that absurd statement of the year.
Straight cash, homie.
Hopefully it's straight cash, homie, and may God have mercy on your soul. But we'll see. I mean, if it's even close, it can't get any worse, right?
Correct. It cannot.
I like the bold prediction. I hope it's true. I really do. All right, Voldy, what is your bold prediction?
See, we were talking bold predictions. We were kind of dancing around the topics. Me and Mikey, we thought we were on the same wavelength. We were, but we're on the opposite sides of the spectrum. My bold prediction for this season, Kirk Cousins will be MVP of the NFL this year.
Oh! That was my second one. I was going to say that one too, but
will not chill And he will prove all the haters wrong. National media will have to not just eat crow, they will have to eat an entire murder of crows. That's a group of crows. Look it up. Google it.
Oh, my God. Kirko, chill.
Oh, my gosh.
No, he will not chill.
He will not chill. We're not doing chill. Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. First of all, I was not expecting both of you guys to go with those bold predictions. Here's a small bold prediction. I'm going to do the small one, then the big one. All right. Here's the small one. Kirko is going to win one of these games, probably a road game. He is going to finally have Grillz. He will have Grillz after a game, after a win. That is my bold prediction. And I think that's very possible. I don't see why not. Because they said that he talked to his dentist or whoever it was this past year and said that they're coming in. I think that's what he's been, holding on to. And if I'm right on that, hey, let's go. I should have asked him that when I met him. But at the same time, I think it's very possible. So that's just a small tidbit one. I've done this in the past. Obviously, my Dalvin one was riddled with injuries. I think it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was.
Right.
But this year, I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and obviously, there's been a lot of talk among people in the NFC North. There's people that think, oh my God, the Packers are going to win the division. Oh, the Packers are going to go into the playoffs. They're going to be great and everything that. And then the Lions, man, they're the team to beat. The Bears, oh my God, Justin Fields is going to be so good. Oh my gosh, oh my goodness. No, that ends today. The Minnesota Vikings are going to win the division this season. I don't want to hear anything more with the Packers, the Bears, the Lions. Enough. The Vikings won the division last year. They're going to win it again this year. Because you know why? Is because they are the team to beat. To be the man, woo! You gotta beat the man. So, the Minnesota Vikings will win the division this season, the NFC North. So, with that being said, that's what's going to happen with the Vikings. And obviously, I kind of did a little spoiler to our next thing here, too. So, here's our last thing, and Mikey, we will let you go. Jason says top three worst defense? Question mark? Well, we don't have that down to tell. We don't have that down to tell. LOL, Kirk as MVP. Most absurd statement right there. He says.
Go ahead and at me. I don't care. Do it.
Hate us because they ain't us.
They ain't us.
Peanut butter and jealous is what they is.
I love it. All right, Mikey. I need the record for the season. Will they be division champs? And are they going to go far in the playoffs? What do you got?
All right. I have the record at 12-5. I think we're going to have a good season. I obviously said we're going to have a top three defense. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. We're going to go 12-5. We are going to be division champs. I think it's actually going to be a close race between us and the Lions. I think the Packers and the Bears are going to be irrelevant. I'm just saying it right now. They're going to be irrelevant in this division race. So we are going to be division champs. I see the Lions getting a wild card for sure. I think they are a strong contender. It comes down to like a few plays here or there probably to see which one, like where they fall, right? Playoffs, obviously, since I said division champs, but I see them going to at least the NFC Championship game.
Ooh. You see, this is why I like doing this. I like that 12-5 NFC Championship game. I take it they're on their own after that, right?
Yeah, they are on their own after that.
Oh, God, too good. All right, Voldy, what do you have, good sir?
season record for the Minnesota Vikings this year, I see them at 13-4. Yes, they will play very competitive games against Detroit this year. Chicago and Green Bay an afterthought in the division this season as well. They will have very close yet competitive games against Kansas City, against the Eagles as well going this year. 13-4. Regular season. NFC North Division wrapped up in a bow with 3 weeks left in the season as well, given the fact that they play the Lions and also the Green Bay Packers in the final 3 weeks of the season. Those will be fun games to watch as well, at least when the Vikings slaughter Green Bay this season. And for the playoffs, at minimum, NFC Championship game. Beyond that point, we cash in all our chips. Kirko bets it all on black, and we'll see what happens after that.
I like it.
As a wise man once said,
I'm just about that action, boss.
Here's what I got. Obviously, I already picked NFC North Division champs. Record, Mikey, I'm going with you, 12-5. And Voldy, you mentioned the matchups that they have. You have the Eagles, you have the Chargers, you have the Chiefs, which are very good opponents, and they're going to be good. Let's not forget they do play the Bengals as well, so that's going to be a really good game because Justin Jefferson versus obviously his homeboys with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. They're going to be competitive. I say that they are going to win at least one of those games or two. Even two in that aspect. They might drop a game,
sure.
Voldy, we all know, trap game. That might happen,
trap
too.
Games. Big time trap games, yeah.
So, I feel like they're going to get at least 1 to 2 wins against those types of teams. And if they can do that, they did it against the Bills, don't forget. But, I look at this and I say that they're going to be division champs, like I said, and, the record of 12-5. I'm gonna go right up with you guys. I'm going to go to the NFC Championship game, and you're on your own after that. I don't know who it's going to be, but I feel like they're here to, show our defense, yes, was bad last year, but guess who we have? A guy in Brian Flores that knows defense, that has worked under a guy like, I wonder who? Bill Belichick. This is a defense that I feel like is going to turn some heads. I'm not going to go as far as Mikey to say they're going to be top 3, but I'm saying that they'll be up there. They'll be much better than what Ed Donatel had. So I'm going to go, NFC Championship game, and we'll see what happens after that. We'll go from there. So, with that being said, Jason says Vikes division champs. Woo! Because of a weak North. Well, I already told you that. Losing wild card to New Orleans.
No.
Did you just have to do that?
No.
Don't even say that.
No. He's blocked. He's done.
No ain'ts.
Report him.
Report
him. He's out.
Report him.
Get out of here. No.
Well.
Talk about a real donut.
Yeah.
There you go. Mikey, we thank you very much for coming on the show tonight, talking about our Minnesota Vikings. I like your bold prediction. Yeah. You probably will be in running for most absurd statement. Voldy
I'll
very
my
well
trophy.
could be too, but it could be most approved statement. So
we'll see. I'm rolling the dice. I'm rolling it.
Roll the dice, man. That's all I got to say. Roll the dice. So, Mikey, we appreciate you coming on, and maybe we'll have you on next week, get a reaction to the first game, too. So, we'll be talking.
We'll see. Yeah, it sounds good. Thanks for having me on, as always. It was fun.
You got it. Catch you later, man.
All right.
Yes, sir.
See you guys.
All right. So, Voldy, that's going to do it for our Viking talk, and we almost took up the whole we're very close to ARA and whatnot. Hopefully things go well for our Vikings, but ARA is coming up.
Fantasy draft coming up in 5 minutes, man. We gotta speed this thing up here a little bit.
Don't worry, I'm ready. I have the third pick, so I got to get raring to go. But Voldy, we got ARA, like we said, the Gophers. Pat Bev, we got We got Colorado prime time. We got pitch clock with the MLB with the postseason. We got Caleb Williams. Jason wanted to talk about Caleb Williams. So a lot with that. ARA Shield shoutouts as always as well. And also pick 'em as well. So check that out. All right. Remember, it's time for some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, the college football season for the Minnesota Golden Gophers and the Fighting PJ Flex got off to a good start with a victory last week. 13-10, they defeated the Nebraska Cornhuskers in the debut for Coach Matt Rule, and it came all the way down to the bitter finish as well. Comeback victory, of course, at one point trailing 13-3. They come back and obviously, or I should say 10-3 at one point. Come back, tie the game with a late touchdown there from Daniel Jackson from, of course, Anthony-Edwards, and then also walk-off 47-yard field goal from Dragan Kesik as well to seal the victory. But looking at this contest, too, a lot of times the Gophers had a chance to maybe even pull away, steal one, obviously, from Nebraska to start off the year. But looking at the contest overall, what did you see as some of the big takeaways from that win from the Gophers against Nebraska?
Sure. And this is really, I'm not trying to knock anybody here, but the passing game was so much better than it was in past years here. And that's up to, that's Callie McManus. I mean, he has given them a little bit more life with the receiving game. And not only that, but another takeaway that I've seen is, the rushing is going to go down. You know what? I'm going to say it significantly. And the reason, but here's the reason why I say that is because you lose Mo Ibrahim. Obviously, he's a guy like him is hard to replace. And, you kind of have some running back by committee back there, but which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But you also have a lot of playmakers at wide receiver. Brevin Spann-Ford at tight end, the guy's a monster. Keep getting that guy the ball because he's got the frame, and you keep getting him involved in the offense. It's going to fare well. And also, Callie McManus, he's not just like a pocket passer. The guy moves around. He's mobile. So Callie McManus can definitely run the ball from that aspect. But I feel like the big storyline, because I watched most of the game, defensively, they were stout. Other than the I don't know if you saw this, but that touchdown that they had, it was a trick play, First Sims, he dropped it, but technically it's behind the line of scrimmage. He picks it up, throws it, guy's wide open, touchdown, whatever. But they were opportunistic. The corner, I think it was none. I can't think of his name now. Ruben, yes, thank you.
Yep.
On fire. Absolutely. 2 interceptions. In the game. He absolutely played phenomenally. And then also, the fumble recovery they had with 5 minutes left in the game. Callie McManus got the job done. He had a dime to Daniel Jackson. That toe tap was just filthy awesome. So there's a lot to be excited about with Jackson, not only with Jackson, but, Tyler Nubin. Yes, thank you. Tyler Nubin on the defense is something that you want to see. Callie McManus, 24-44, 196, only that one interception. But you know what? He's learning, right? And, there's a lot of good things to say. Bryce Williams, again, running back for the the Gophers, because we're talking about so much about Vikings. But, that's kind of my biggest takeaways. And obviously, the field goal that they had, the kicker's got a leg, man. He can nail it. So it's good for the Gophers in that aspect. But we'll see what happens up against, I think it's or Central Michigan or something like that.
Eastern Michigan. Yep.
Eastern Michigan. Thank you. And we'll see what happens there. So that's my biggest takeaway. Stamp of approval for the win. Matt Rule, though, I was impressed by what Nebraska gave out. So, I give them some credit too. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think for the Gophers here this year got me on that one too. I think the Gophers, I think a lot of these games this year are going to have to come down to the defense too, especially with Tyler Nubin, who's, kind of early on playing very reminiscently of Antoine Winfield Jr. a little bit.
I like it.
Linebacking core is going to be very fun to watch this year too. I think for the Gophers too, they're going to have to be able to, play up against a lot of the premier talent, of course, here in the Big Ten. And they're going to have to win some ball games for the Gophers, too, especially, with the passing game that is going to see some progression, but it may take a couple of games for alexandermattison and this receiving core to get fully back together as well. Of course, Chris Ottman-Bell still trying to work his way back from injury, too. Daniel Jackson getting his love early on, too. That offensive line's got to shore things up because that was a big strong point for the Gophers, for the last few seasons, and some guys even, progressing into the NFL too. But if that's going to open up opportunities for the running game too, that's going to have to surely tighten things up here to protect the quarterback, because there were a lot of throws. alexandermattison was flush, and he was just throwing it up there, and hopefully someone in a Gophers helmet was bringing it down. But even with just that one interception, I mean, you go 24 for 44, a lot to look back on as positive. But, you've got a game against Eastern Michigan coming up. You don't want to regress, of course, from that first game, but obviously continue to build momentum, especially starting off the year with not only a conference win, you also get a trophy win too with the Broken Chair Trophy over Nebraska too, and the battle for white people as well. Gophers win that one over Nebraska, so yay for the Gophers this year.
Glad that they took down the Huskers, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when they start conference play here too. So it'll be interesting to see how they do against those top teams. But Nebraska's no slouch. I'll give them that. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, interesting comments from a former Minnesota Timberwolf talking about a current Minnesota Timberwolf. Patrick Beverly went into conversation talking about the future of the Minnesota Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards, and saying that he could quite possibly want out of Minnesota. The quote on the podcast hosted by Gil's Arena, or Gilbert Arenas, that does host that podcast, saying, quote, "Get out of Minnesota. That's just what happens," as Beverly did say. It's no disrespect to Minnesota. It's just that personality. He could change the world. Apparently not in a Timberwolves uniform. As we've seen with some of the big stars that have come through in Minnesota as well. Of course, we all know with Kevin Garnett, obviously he went on to play elsewhere, won a championship, but still ended up coming back, finishing his career with the Timberwolves. But looking at, of course, with the comments made by a former Timberwolf, of course, that did play with, that did play a short amount of time, but still made an impact for the Timberwolves. Do you find it absurd or approve Pat Bev's comments about Ant ultimately wanting out of being a Timberwolf at some point in his career?
I'll be honest with you. I wish he didn't say anything about that leaving, because, well, first of all, we like Pat Bev. Don't get me wrong, and he tells it like it is. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. I see why he said that, just because, well, that a bigger market, showcase everything that he's done, but I get that. But at the same time, I also look at it from the perspective of, maybe that he's thinking a little bit, he can't think for Ant is what I'm saying. Like, he is a guy that I think Ant wants to be in Minnesota. That's why I think what he said was absurd. And FYI, I just drafted Austin Eckler, so just wanted to throw that out there. But nobody cares, because no one cares about my fantasy team. I'm just putting that out there. Nobody cares
about Pat Bev's comment.
Yeah, and that's what I put at too. And I think that Pat Bev, he tells it like it is, and I appreciate that, but he's wrong. I think Ant wants to be in Minnesota as long as the Wolves and A-Rod and Mark Lowry keep him happy. Smiles all around. So, I think it's absurd. I think he stays in Minnesota, and just keep him happy, add pieces where they will be around. So make sure you do that. Voldy, what do you think?
I don't know what it is about some of these guys that do come in a Timberwolves environment and just for some reason just don't get the feeling of welcome opportunity. I mean, with Pat Bev, especially when he got picked up towards the end of his time, obviously during that great, end of season into the play-in tournament and also that series against Memphis as well in the playoffs. I mean, he was playing some of his best basketball of his career at that point. He's always been kind of a scrappy guy and always doing what he could to, obviously still make a name for himself. But really just wish he didn't put things out into the universe. I think now he's probably spent a little bit too much time, those guys over at Barstool, and trying to do clickbaity type challenges, trying to challenge his inner Stephen A. Smith, his Skip Bayless, those guys just try to put something out there to maybe ruffle a few feathers. Well, this is ruffling a few feathers to the degree that I don't like. Obviously, you want to see some of the best players put in the best situation and ultimately maybe have the best results in winning a championship. And I know that Timberwolves fans, Minnesota fans want Ant to win a championship here with the right coach, right GM as well. Hopefully this new ownership group, obviously with A-Rod and Mark Laurie, they start to change those things too. I don't know if it's going to come here in, obviously this upcoming season, but I would certainly hope that it'd be sooner or later, especially when you've invested 5 years, $260 million into a guy that has also changed his uniform number going into a new season here where he will be heavily relied upon for the offensive scheme too. But I think Pat Bev's comments, they're absurd. I think we just don't need that kind of negativity around here.
And it's no disrespect to Pat Bev.
No, definitely not. Love Pat Bev. Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that being said too, he has his right to think what he wants, but I feel like I'm surprised because I feel like, he talks about Cat too and saying oh, Cat would be great on this, so he kind of likes to, get some people riled up, but I think it's absurd just because he wants to, try to get Ant into more of a spotlight, which, I mean, he still is kind of in a spotlight, so, do what you say. I mean, do whatever you want. Voldy, what do you got? Exactly. Next one, Voldy.
Yep, so we got, of course, the big surprise, well, maybe not so much a surprise, but the big shock out of college football, first full week of college football. The Colorado Buffaloes, led by Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, and squad, notched an upset over a team that was in the national championship game this past season, winning 45-42 on the road to open up a new regime, new way of college football living, with the Colorado Buffaloes taking down number 17 ranked TCU. Shedeur Sanders, of course, 5 touchdowns, 510 passing yards. And, well, Coach Prime made sure to let all the doubters say, you know what? We remember what you said. Well, how you like me now, with them keeping receipts on everybody that doubted them in that season opening victory as well. But looking back at things now, of course, now Colorado's ranked number 22 in the college football world. Is it absurd or approved? Should college football take Colorado and Coach Prime more seriously now with the season opening upset over TCU this past week?
Well, I don't know why people are so surprised. I feel like there's been a lot of again, this is the national media influence too, Voldy, about how, he's bringing in all these, this is first year, he can't just turn it around that quickly and X, Y, and Z. His son's a heck of a quarterback. I mean, the guy just tore up the team that literally went to the national championship the year before. And you have guys like Justin Hunter, who played both sides, reminiscent of, I wonder who, Deion Sanders.
What?
This is something to where it upset a lot of people because it's like, this isn't the way you're supposed to do it. This isn't how it's supposed to go, and X, Y, and Z. Well, the fact of the matter is, he just proved all of you wrong. He went toe-to-toe with one of the top teams in the country. They were ranked 17. Now, I think Colorado's 25
22.
now? 22. Okay. Yeah, I knew, I knew they were going to be ranked. Yeah, you got to take this team seriously. And Coach Prime, told that to people. It's like, it's not common to, look at this. It's like, well, they played one game. It doesn't. This team's for real. Let's not forget that. And the Gophers played this team last year and smoked them, but this is a completely different team. Like 75% of those players are from, who he's been able to transfer over from Jackson State and whatnot. So this is not surprising. It's an upset, 100%. But I was not one of those doubters at all. I thought that they were going to be good. I just didn't think that they would beat TCU right away. But they proved that, and you got to take them seriously, especially with that big of a win. So stamp of approval on yes, they should take it more seriously. Voldy, what do you got?
The fact that Colorado's already equaled their win total than they had last season, picking up their first road win since 2021. Now snapped a streak of 24 consecutive losses as an underdog of 21 points or more. Just completely broke that. And I was never a doubter of Colorado, like
sure.
you said as well. I was just more concerned about how soon the turnaround would be, how much of a grace period that would be. But, with the coaching style and the coaching staff that, Coach Prime has, I'm not surprised of the result there. Of course, former Gophers coach Tim Brewster is coaching tight ends over at Colorado right now too. And I was always a fan of Shedeur Sanders, even coming out of high school. He was originally going to play for Lane Kiffin at FAU before he got the job at Ole Miss. Then obviously Dion gets the job at Jackson State. So he ends up going to Jackson State. And I always knew, you give him a comfortable level, he is definitely a playmaker. And even going into that game, Colorado didn't have a for sure offensive line. They were moving guys all over the place. And that was one of the big question marks. But that offensive line gave him room, gave him space, and obviously 510 passing yards and giving the ball to the guys downfield. That certainly paid dividends. So great start to the year, and I've always, I was definitely, I definitely drank the Kool-Aid on Coach Prime and all of that. But I just knew that, obviously the best players are going to make plays out there one way or another, and all the naysayers out there that just say, well, this team's going in, as a team that was in the national championship. Well, all those guys, moved on. Starting quarterback was gone. A lot of guys that were on that team last year are now gone for TCU, and I'm not surprised of the upset. And you know what? It was just a good old-fashioned college football shootout. Not a bad way to open up the, obviously their tenure in the regime at Colorado. I think college football should take them more serious, especially with this game against Nebraska coming up here this week too.
Yep, and I think that's going to be an interesting game to see whether or not, if they dominate them. But at the same time, I feel
Colorado's going to hurt all the feelings of Nebraska. Not just some, all the feelings.
All the feelings. So
all the feelings.
We'll see. Next one, Voldy.
Well, it's coming down to, of course, with the nitty-gritty of the baseball season. With this episode of Minnesota Sports Live, we've actually played a full Major League Baseball season at 162 episodes of the show. Fun little fact here for this evening. But it's looking like that Major League Baseball is going to keep going forward, obviously with the set rules that they have for the pitch clock going into this season. Obviously, the numbers have been quite comparable with, of course, average attendance of game, speed of game as well. The pitcher will still have 15 seconds to throw a pitch from the time that the clock starts, the base is empty, or 20 seconds with runners on as well. There were concerns that maybe adjusting the time a little bit more, maybe shaving off a couple of seconds on each side just because they want to speed up playoff games as well, because those can drag on, especially in key moments too. There has been just the fact that there have been, unfortunately, times that some of these games have been played, unfortunately, because of the fact that attendance has been low due to the fact that they have been played at such long rates of time too. Yeah. But with looking at how things have fared with the start of course, the enforcement of the pitch clock and how the season has gone as well, is it absurd or approved? Should the pitch clock have any changes heading into the playoffs here this season?
No, I think the way that they have it is much better, and I feel like it's going to, help with the games. And Voldy, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the other rules too is once they get into the postseason, if they go into extras, they don't have that extra runner at second. Is that
correct?
Still okay? Good.
I believe that is still correct. Yes.
Who knows with Manfred?
It's a dumb
right?
rule.
Yeah, it is.
It's so dumb. Yeah.
But for the pitch clock, I don't think there should be any changes. I mean, it'll be a little bit of a faster pace. I think it's worked very well. Especially, I've been to a couple Twins games this year where it's gone where you would think, and obviously, going at a good pace. For the playoffs, if you got rid of it, I really wouldn't have necessarily a bad. I wouldn't think of it as a bad thing either, just because traditionally the postseason and whatnot. But
right.
Pitch clock, I like it. I think it's worked well so far. Might as well keep doing it into the postseason. So stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
I will be the first one to admit, when the introduction of the pitch clock became reality for Major League Baseball, I was not a fan of it. Obviously, baseball is a sport that there is no clock. There was no reason to change things as well. But as the season has come along, I've become more aware of it. I will say it has made me pay attention a lot more to games because, usually given in a normal year as well, in past years, as I say, before the pitch clock era as well, game starts at 1:05 basically.
Yeah.
You check around 2:05, you'd probably be right around, maybe second, maybe top of the third. Well, an hour comes around, you're in like the fourth or the fifth inning. It's like, oh, geez, we're getting to crunch time here already. Games down significantly in times as well, attracting more fans too. And I think with baseball in the postseason, there's nothing more electric than playoff baseball too, especially given the time of the year, some of the field conditions that come into effect as well, home crowd advantage as well at certain stadiums too. I think you throw in the fact that you're gonna have to set a time and maybe make decisions a little bit more on the fly that could work to your benefit or bite you in the rear end. That's just going to add to even more intensity of attracting more fans and obviously bringing more excitement to an already exciting experience at it being playoff baseball. With the changes as well, then that would just mean that more adjustments would have to take place. Early on, we saw in spring training, there were a lot of things, pitch clock violations, and obviously games ending due to a clock violation as well. But as the seasons come along, guys have adjusted. They've gotten comfortable. They've changed their repertoire, their meanings well. Batters are always ready. Pitchers are much more wary of calling pitches as well, and obviously getting that relay from their catcher, and obviously to know what pitch to be thrown in that certain amount of time too. I don't think adjustment really needs to be needed. It could very well be looked at going into next season or even seasons future as well. But then that would have to, of course, go through the players, which probably wouldn't be a fan of it because they've already had to adjust from no pitch clock to a pitch clock. And now you want to change the times for the regular season to the postseason, which is already stressful enough, especially after playing a full 162 game schedule. I don't think any adjustments need to be made as well. I think it's absurd.
Just kind of go from there. No changes. Keep it simple and go from there. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, if we've seen anything recently, the world of college and professional sports, sometimes the athlete doesn't always get the chance to speak for themselves. It always has to come from a secondary source. We've seen it with the Ball family and LeVar Ball. We've seen it with Ja Morant's dad as well. Now we've seen it with Odell Beckham Sr. as opposed to Jr. posting more about his comments as well. Now let's enter the world of Caleb Williams and his dad talking about Carl Williams, speaking on the behalf of the reigning Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams and looking at being one of the top prospects for the 2024 NFL Draft. Certain comments and conversation has come up here interestingly this past week, of course, with the USC Trojans opening up their college football season, and I hope to run things as well with the Pac-12 dissolving after this year. Now it's looking at quite possibly that maybe, just maybe, Caleb Williams won't come out and enter the NFL draft process after the 2023 season. Of course, Carl was quoted as saying, on speaking on behalf of his son as well, the funky thing about the NFL draft process is he'd almost be better off not being drafted than being drafted first. The system is completely backwards. The way the system is constructed, you go to the worst possible situation, the worst possible team, the worst organization in the league, because of their desire for parity, gets the first pick. So it's a gift and also the curse as well. Now, you could stay at USC for another season, play in the Big Ten Conference, run roughshod over everybody, quite possibly, or you could try and make your money now because for all intents purposes, you could drop dead tomorrow and you would be broke and penniless as well, even with the whole NIL situation going on. But this was years past, of course, with the old days of college football. But looking at the situation, of course, whether to enter the NFL draft and go to the worst team in the worst situation, most likely the Arizona Cardinals, because they're already tanking for Caleb Williams this year. Or you could stay in college football at USC, maybe win another Heisman Trophy, maybe win the Big Ten championship for USC next year, maybe even make it to the college football playoff. There's a lot of ifs, a lot of whats, and a lot of who knows what's going to happen. But do you find it absurd or proof? Should Caleb Williams return to USC for another season after this year, regardless of who is drafting number one, or enter the NFL draft process going into next season?
Go to the NFL draft for the sake of the Big Ten. And I say that just, tongue in cheek, but at the same time, it's fine. But, I think he should go to the NFL. I mean, you have the talent. If he stinks it up or has an injury, you'd return and, try to, prove that you still got it, right? But I think at this point it makes more sense for him to go that route instead of just returning back and putting yourself at risk for injury, things like that.
Right.
He has the talent. The talent's there. I believe he would probably want to make his money there, no matter who's picking number one. And shoot, we even haven't played the season yet, for goodness sakes.
Exactly.
We haven't. So there's that to factor in. And I think that when you have that, at the forefront, Caleb Williams is going to be a heck of a player. And if the Cardinals are going to tank, then let them tank. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You go to that team and you could have a good makeup. I mean, Cannon's not a bad coach.
No.
And with Kyler Murray, I think there could be trades going on there with
for sure.
Kyler Murray coming up here. So
Definitely.
I think you gotta put that into perspective too. But what I'm gonna say is that I think he stays. I think he goes on to the NFL. Excuse me, on NFL draft. But I think it's absurd. I don't think he should return to USC if he plays well. And could he be a repeat to back to back? We'll see. But
we'll see.
I think it's absurd. I think whoever's drafting there, I mean, you're going to be the number one pick. You're going to make lots of money either way. So we got that going. So Voldy, what do you think?
There is going to be a very interesting run here for who is going to be that number one pick going into the next season as well. And the fact that, obviously we've made light of the whole Arizona Cardinals situation where they've had guys that have been in that quarterback's room for a couple of years. They drop them and they ended up trading for a guy a week before the season starts, and Josh Dobbs from Cleveland, and now he's going to be the week one starter with Kyler Murray still on the mend there. I don't know what's happening with that Arizona Cardinals organization, if they're self-tanking already, but it's definitely not a good start. Not a lot of confidence in those Cardinal fans right now, probably. But for the sake of Caleb Williams, obviously week one, you come out with a victory, obviously. You can't really talk about the whole draft process because that's going to obviously take away from what you're doing right now this season for your team and for your teammates. So you definitely want to keep things focused on how the season is looking right now. Now, for his dad to speak on his behalf as well, not all that surprising. Dads do that all the time, and especially we've seen with some of the higher profile athletes and their fathers as well in recent years. Nothing too surprising with that. I look at this as an opportunity for Caleb Williams. I would just like to see for once the trend to be broken. Obviously, this guy is a for sure top 5 pick as well for any team. Could very well be the number 1 pick as well going into the season. I would just like to see finally the trend's like, you know what? I've been in college football for 3 years. Let's do one more year just for the sake of college football as well, because we see all these guys come out early, Some of them do end up working great and obviously become great players as well. Other times they come out early and they get to see the field 5 years into their pro career. Most likely won't by the time that they get a chance. They're going to be over the hill and washed up. But I would just like to see, obviously, this is a money situation. You want to make your money now, or do you want to risk it, play one more season? You end up getting hurt. You get no money. You get significantly less money than you would have if you would have started this year as a pro player. Should he go to college? Should he stay in college? Should he go to the NFL? Obviously, you would like to say he's going to go to the NFL. I could very well see it after this season, regardless of what happens. If USC is 2-7 or whatever, he's going to come out. He's going to go to the NFL. They end up going undefeated, win the Pac-12, win the playoff, win the national championship. He could very well go pro as well. I don't see any situation where he would stay for another year as well, because as the saying goes, money talks and BS walks as well. And sometimes that money is definitely going to buy you a nice car as opposed to walking with that BS. So I think he'll go to the NFL next year.
I agree. We'll see what happens. Caleb Williams, I have 2 picks that have gone through, so in case you have been seeing my wandering eyes, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins. Not too bad.
Nice.
I'll go with that. I know no one gives a crap, but I'm just saying. So, but without further ado, great job with ARA this week, Voldy, as always.
Thank you, sir.
We got some Shield shoutouts. We got a very special Shield shoutouts tonight for a lot of people that we are, I would say, Zoner favorites on the show. So let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, it is time for some Shield shoutouts. So, Shield, who are you shouting out tonight?
Of course, before we get to Shield shoutouts, got to say we ran into Zona favorite Alex Coop Miners. Coop earlier today, first practice of the season for Grand State Lumberjacks. Coop getting back into game shape. He's going to be heading back overseas to Sweden this season after playing in the States this past year. So I got to catch up with him as well. Says hi to everybody on the Zona as well. And, of course, always great to catch up with him. Super nice guy. Of course, got engaged this summer. Won the Beauty League title as well, the John Scott Cup as well. So he said it's been a crazy but awesome summer as well. Look forward to seeing his, obviously how he plays this season overseas. He goes back actually over in a week as well. So best of luck to Coop this season. I do have to get to Shield shoutouts. Minnesota Lynx coach Cheryl Reeve picked up her 300th career victory with also in the same process. The Lynx captured a playoff spot in the WNBA playoffs. So let's hope that's a sign of good things to come with this younger squad that they've got. Hopefully bring another banner to, of course, the Target Center as well this season. So best of luck to the Lynx coming up here in the playoffs. And, of course, the big news here throughout the week, that has been Minnesota Vikings tight end Kyle Rudolph, former Minnesota Vikings tight end Kyle Rudolph, announced his retirement from the NFL. 12 seasons in the league, 10 of them in the purple for the Vikings. He signed that one-day contract to retire a Viking and was also a 2-time Pro Bowler, where he was also a Pro Bowl MVP in his time, back when the Pro Bowl was actually something worth watching and actually a game took place between all the players. So congratulations on one heck of a career for Kyle Rudolph. Obviously, all of his work on the field for the Purple, going through various different coaches, regimes, 3 different fields and stadiums that he played for, various coaches, different quarterbacks throwing him the football, but obviously his work off the field as well with the Masonic Hospital as well in the Twin Cities, his group All True as well as his company All True also being a part of the Vikings organization. So glad to see that Kyle Rudolph and obviously the Rudolph family sticking around with Minnesota and being, of course, retired as a Viking. Hope to see him blow that Gallahorn at least once this season, if not a couple of times.
Very true. And is that going to do it for Shield Shoutouts?
That's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week. Okay. Knew I was forgetting something.
Nah, you're good. Couple of tidbits I want to add to that. Congratulations to Coop. Yeah. Can't wait to have him on again. You know who was interviewing Cheryl Reeve at the end of that game, by the way?
I could think of a person.
Yes. And I think you know who I'm talking about. Alex Zappa. Yes, I did see
Alex
Zapps. So he brought it up. She's like, it doesn't matter, or whatever. And he's like, you know, I loved it. But Zappa did a fantastic job, as always, with Cheryl there. And Zoner favorite, Kyle Rudolph, congratulations on your retirement from all of us here at MinneZona Sports Live. You are, in fact, a Zoner favorite here on MinneZona, and congratulations to you. And, can't wait to see you blow that Gallahorn, and maybe you just play a game, put you in the red zone. We could use you. You and Hawk. Looking good.
Hey.
I like it.
Get it.
Yeah, I can get behind it. All right. Great job with Shield shoutouts, as always, Voldy. And a couple, one tidbit. Minnesota Pick'em. NFL Pick'em.
Yes.
Make sure you make your picks. You can still sign up. You have time to do so. Make your picks. Get them done. Don't have to worry about them later on. It'll be easy for you. So make sure you guys do that, and you can win free stuff. So, also,
I will say,
yes.
Molly Vold is taking this 1,000% serious this year. She came this close to winning it, and she was pregnant most of the year as well. She is
great cash, homie.
This year. She is in it to win it. She even told me this past week as well, she just wants to do better than me. So that is a very high bar that we're setting in the Vold household, and she's coming out for blood this year, if not to win the whole thing.
Well, it'll be interesting, to say the least.
Yes, it will.
We will keep an eye on that throughout the throughout the season here. So make your picks, do it up, go from there. And, as Voldy's wearing the customized hat there, we have merch. We have some awesome merch that you guys might want to take a look at. There's the stickers, brand new stickers, obviously. You can win them through Pick'em, or you can just be like, you know what, I'm just going to buy them. $2, $3, easy. So do the small ones. Small ones are $2, $3 for the big ones. We also have the MinneZona shirts. We still have the limited edition shirt, an XL. Whoever's interested, we'd love to give it to you. Then the next one that we have are things coming up, things that might be revealed later on. So keep your eyes out. You know the deal with the shirts, $20, $5 shipping. And we got some. Oh, yeah, there it is. Let's go. So it's just waiting, man. It's going to go home to somebody. They're going to be like, shoot, I can't believe this didn't sell sooner. So be on the lookout.
There's the regular shirts here.
Yes, regular
Dry
shirts.
Fit,
5
10 out of 10. 5 stars.
All the everything. It's just fantastic. So make sure you check that out. We'll get that to you. So we got a lot.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to W2 Performance, Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. The Instagram account got hacked for Mr. Will Rattel, but you can still follow him at rattel.will. So make sure you check out all his stuff there. He's going to get it back. Instagram seems like they're going to work that out. So he'll figure it out. And we're more than willing to help, too. Shout out to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And the Victorious POD, Tyler Herman, Jack Vickers. The season's getting underway. I've been talking with Jack, and next week we could have those two on our show. So keep a lookout for that. So keep in tune. TLS Performance, check out Troy Stoudemire, our guy. And then Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, Ryan Myberg, Omni Entertainment, our guys over there doing fantastic, adding a lot of cool things as well to the Popcorn Bucket List, Omni Entertainment. So make sure you check it out. All right. Without further ado, that's going to do it for episode 162. We will be back next week, give our reactions to the Vikings game and everything else that's happening in the NFL. Keep up to date with the Twins and everything along those lines. So without further ado, remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.